I had originally designed this to open, but while I was putting the glass in, it was just ever so slightly, this was too low, so it caused it to break, and I just taped it back together because it's an ugly coupe anyway. But I had stapled this frame on, and it was so hot in there that I decided I needed this to open. I just propped it up with an old board. But it really made a difference, and it's really going to make a difference next summer whenever this is full of adult chickens. This is a pretty cool little setup. Whenever I have this hooked to the battery, whenever that says 13, it says that this battery is fully charged. And according to what they said, this will run like a television for 35 hours, or a laptop for 35 hours, or a refrigerator for like 24 hours, or whatever, just on 2 days worth of charge to get it fully charged. So that's pretty good, just with a little, I think it's 45 watts is the 3 panels, they're 15 each. And we paid $40 for this because it started at like $14.99, and the more you went, the more power output you got. So we settled kind of in the middle of the low end. They were huge ones that just could probably power your whole house, but we didn't need that. So it has 2 plugs, it has USB, has an on and off switch, and it does exactly what I needed it to do. But I didn't pay $350 just for this fan. I plan on eventually hooking things up to this to run otherwise. For example, these came with the solar kit. If I can switch them on. Oh, that's funny. The solar panels are not in the sun right now, and they're not hooked to the battery right now. So, but this lamp comes on. This one's off, obviously. So, and the solar panel on top of the barn isn't completely in the sun, so we've only got one fan blowing. But if I hooked this up to the battery, let me do that really fast. Okay, so I've depleted the battery from 13 to 11.9 in the last few hours that I haven't been charging it. So now the lamp's okay, it's way brighter. Turn on the other one. There we go. And so now I have barn illumination. This is a very dark area. So at night, if I come and check on the rabbits, which I usually do before I go to bed, I'll have light. Isn't that wonderful? Solar power. One-time charge, $350. And I have light and I have air. And they're appreciating it. They're no longer panting like they were. Apparently the fan is doing its job. The babies have finally huddled together and fallen asleep. I just can't get enough of how sweet they all are. I'm guilty. Now those babies are supposed to be food, but I gave one a kiss yesterday, and probably shouldn't have done that. I'm not going to name them, but I just can't help myself. I just cherish all life, and I felt it needed a kiss. Made me feel better anyway. They just have the sweetest little faces. I wanted to show you guys the wingspan of one of my chicks. They didn't run. Uh-oh. You're gonna fall out? Yes, you're all on the edge. Go on in there. Oh! Oh, we gotta run away. Well, it's a good thing one fell out. I wanted to show you their wings and show you how the feathers are developing. So I caught him. It was not easy under that coop. but they can actually fly small distances already. The one yesterday that had the poopy butt, I set him down in the sink after I give him their first initial soaking, and he flew up to the windowsill. So their wings are developing quite nicely, and they're learning how to use them. I caught them a wood burrowing bee and threw it in here to see what they do. Did you see him just fly? It was incredible. Anyway, they were scared of it at first, and then they got used to the idea and ripped it apart. But while I'm in here, today I discovered that one of my chicks has a problem that could possibly affect it for the rest of its life by stunting its growth, among other things. And it just so happens it's my favorite chick. There are 3 that are unique in this group. And there's one that looks like those 3, but has slightly different. He has a little speckled head. Where is he? The one I'm looking for has blonde spots on his head. And he has a crooked beak, which when I did research I found out that a variety of things can cause the crooked beak. Not you. You. Not you. Where is the little devil? There he is. Look at his little speckled head. You know I see you. Okay, this poor fellow, if you can see there, his beak is crooked. Now, a variety of things can cause this. It can happen when they're developing in the egg. It can happen because of genetics. It can happen because of deficiencies in their diet. And it can happen from injury. So I'm going to assume that this guy either got a genetic malfunction or he developed wrong in the egg. What this is probably going to cause is his growth will be stunted, and a variety of other mostly minor things. Remedies to solve this include adding yogurt to their food so that it's easier for them to pick it up, and making sure that their water is deep enough for them to fully submerge their beak. With this many chicks, it's possible that we're going to leave my favorite in here and pray for him to develop normally. But, of course, it had to be my favorite. He's just the prettiest, or she. Ricky and I decided to do a date day, and so we took all the animals and we made them comfortable and we put a little trust in God, and we just went to town and we stayed gone like all day. And we were gone probably from, I think the movie started at 11, so we were gone from maybe 10:30 until about 5, and everyone's grand. We watched 2 movies in the theater. First we watched The Purge, then we went to have lunch, then we came back and watched Independence Day, so it was pretty exciting. I've never seen 2 theater movies in one day. The theater people were like, weren't you guys just here? But right now, the babies are doing great. Fans blowing on them. They were a little warm. I used up the entire battery last night just to run the fan and see how long it would run on just the initial charge. But this guy, he was dreaming earlier, and he was like licking his paws and rubbing his face, but he was completely asleep, you could tell. But they're doing great. Why do they have to be so cute? Whenever that says 13, it's fully charged. When I got home, it was 12.4. So I hooked the fan back up. I should probably cut it off now because it's almost evening and it's cutting down. So I'll let that charge. It's already back up to 12.1. Pretty good. I picked 2 more giant yellow squash off of my vines today. So that's like 4 huge squash. I don't know when we'll use all that, and there are still more developing. But there's a couple on the plants that kind of developed twins, and I'm going to try to show you one. Basically, like 2 flowers formed side by side, the stems fused and produced 2 different fruit. Now I'm going to show you where I pulled one. Okay, so these are attached, but there were 2 fruit, and this was the larger one, and this was a smaller one. Well, after I pulled that off yesterday, this one just gave up. It failed. It started to rot from the bottom up. So I pulled that off and gave it to the rabbits. But over here there's another one that'll give you an idea of what it kind of looked like. Here we are. Those are merged. On the other one, the squash themselves weren't merged, but on this one they are. 2 flowers, 2 squash, 2 vines, but they've fused. There's a seam here, and there's a seam here, but that is one, it is now 1 unit, whereas it used to be 2. So I've never seen that happen before, but I'm going to let it try to develop. But others are getting pretty big, almost ready for harvest. Ricky likes me to take them off right about now, but I like to wait until they're a little more yellow. He thinks they get too tough. I think when they're bigger, that's more food. But I don't know. Everything's doing great. The flowers that are all over my radishes mean that we're going to have food. I hear bees buzzing around all through here all day. So that's great. It means no Monsanto corn nearby, or else we'd have a major die-off, which means it's also safe for me to grow. Look at these. These are shoulder height now. Just about. So they're growing really well. Uh-oh. Things are grabbing a hold of me. These little tendrils here on this cucumbers. I need to pull some more of this grass. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me go, please. Having a few little problems with bug eating the leaves, but it's not severe, so I'm not really concerned. Still unsure if I have peppers or weeds here. I really believe that these are weeds, but I'm just gonna let them go. Oh, what's this? Whatever weed this is, it's producing a seed pod. That'll be helpful in identifying it in the future. The thing is, in the forest dirt, I didn't see any other plants like this in the forest dirt. So, because there's so many... Oh, and there's a smell. It smells familiar. But there are 4 of them in my garden. So, there's one over there. And then there's one here. And then there's one there. And then there's one there. So I don't know what they are. But they're starting to produce these pods. Definitely don't look like any pepper I've ever seen. They're squishy. So it's most likely a weed. But all the other food I've got in here. And this garden is a fraction of the size of the garden that I'm going to have next year. Because next year I'm going to start, when it's cool, building my little raised beds out that way. I signed up for a company. It's called Chip Drop. And you can get there by going to www.chipdrop.in. And you give them your address and your name. I read reviews. I liked their Facebook page. Basically, you can choose between 4 options of what kind of a dump you'll get. And it's not... When I was reading the reviews, a lot of people were like, oh, they brought me just an entire tree that had been run through the tripper, and it was leaves and branches and the trunk and the roots and the dirt and rocks and all of it. And I'm like, what did you expect? On their website it says exactly what you're going to get, and it's a tree that they have cut down or pulled out and chipped. And so for me, out here, with all that space, because you can tell them where to drop it, and in the description I told them to drop it behind there. So if I'm not home, I told them to drive behind that shed down there and drop it where that T-post is, which is the marker that I left for them. That's where they're supposed to drop it. So it depends on if there are any companies around my area who have signed up for chip drop. But hopefully they have, because I really would love this. And basically it's a free sign up. You don't have to pay them anything, but you can choose to pay them something, and it'll actually sometimes up your chances of getting a delivery. I chose not to pay, because if they don't bring anything, then I can find another method. But I just thought it was wonderful that I could sign up for this. I read the reviews, and people are so angry that they were not brought what they were expecting, which is the beautiful dyed, you know, mulch that you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or wherever. I don't know why they were expecting that. But it'll be perfect if there are any companies who drop any off. If there aren't, it's perfectly fine that I can go find them somewhere else. I just wanted to point it out to you because it seems legit to me, because why would people be complaining about the chips that were delivered for free to their house? And they were saying things like, I had to pay more to have them hauled off than what I would have paid to buy them at the store. Well, if you're using them to decorate a ornamental garden in your front yard, then yes, this company or this organization is probably not what you're looking for. And in their description on the website it says that it's basically for people like me who want a pile of rotting wood in their yard for gardening purposes. And so, perfect. I guess people didn't read. But that tells me that yes, it's legit. Yes, they'll bring wood chips. And some people have to wait longer than others. It really depends on which companies signed up in your area to participate in chip drop. And it's relatively new. I think it started in 2013 or 2014, so it's only a few years old. I'd never heard of it, so obviously it's not being spread around by word of mouth very much. But I want to spread it around because an organization like this that brings these companies together, it saves the drivers money because they no longer have to pay a fee to take it to a chip drop site. They can bring it to us, people in the communities that can actually use these. We're on our way to get firecrackers for our first time out on our acreage. We always get little tiny firecrackers for the driveway and whenever we lived in suburbia. But out here, all bets are off, so there's no telling what we'll come home with. Well, we bought some, and then the man kept unloading more and more and more and more and more on us, and followed us out to the car and said, hey, do you like these? And just handed us more. Came to check on the bunnies after getting fireworks, and they are mobile. Came to find Mama. Well, you found her. Now what? See if I can't get some illumination in here. I was right about the sixth one being buried. Buried under Mom. Taking a nap. Excuse me, Mom. I feel like she's going to burst any minute now. She didn't eat any of the greens I picked for her all day. She's just been laying just like that, just miserable. Miserable with her big old belly. Good morning. When I came out to check on the bunnies this morning, it looked like my Mrs. Mustard had a fight with something outside of her cage, because all of that fur was all like attached out here, and she'd basically just, she shredded that and ripped off part of it. Don't see any babies, but there's a lot of fur up in there. So I think she's getting ready. because yesterday all this fur wasn't ripped out all over her cage.